So maybe you heard of this whole subject to deal and you're a little skeptical of how it all works out and everything. I'm going to be talking today about how I sold my house subject to. Yes, I'm an investor. I buy houses subject to creative financing, all that kind of stuff. But actually the first deal I did was me, the seller, selling my house subject to. I'm going to talk through what I did and some key lessons that I learned and some things that you can be mindful of as you're structuring your deal with whether you're a seller or a buyer in this transaction. Here is the details on this deal. I purchased a home in 2019 for $280,000. Man, I wish I could find a house for $280,000 in that neighborhood today. I'd buy it in a heartbeat. However, I sold this house in 2023 for $378,000. It had some pretty quick appreciation in that area. And the buyer netted us $121,000. So that buyer actually came to this deal with $121,000 in cash, pretty good amount for a property of that value, $121,000 in cash, and then they took over our loan with a 2.875% interest. I don't know if we'll ever see that again in my life, at least. We may have to have quite a financial crisis to get back to that level, right? So, cool things here. One, they put down cash and they got an amazing interest rate. They could never find that. It was around, 6.5% interest rate at the time when they purchased it. Wouldn't have been a good deal for them, but because of this, they were able to get a little bit more on the interest. And because of that, I was able to sell at a premium price and get top dollar in my pocket for this. So it was a win-win. I win because, hey, they benefit from something I got years ago, right? I get more money in my pocket. They win because they pay a lot lower monthly payment and they have a good bit of equity in this house. But there's 3 lessons that I learned, and we talk about how to structure these deals and all that stuff in other videos here. But there's 3 lessons that I learned that I wanted to share with you from my first experience of selling as a seller. Lesson number 1 is the seller will actually have to share their social security number with the buyer. I know, it just sounds terrible, it sounds awful, etc. But you have a financial transaction here, you sold that property, and because of that, you, the seller, need to provide a 1098 to the buyer. And when you do that, that method that the IRS tracks money going from one person to another is through social security numbers, which is why you have that. Now, in today's day and age, everyone's getting hacked, unfortunately. AT&T got hacked. I got a text the other day saying, hey, by the way, AT&T leaked your social security number on the dark web. Obviously, they didn't do it. It was a matter of they got hacked and the unfortunate consequences that were there. Another one I had too last year was Mr. Cooper. That's a large financial institution for loans. Unfortunately, they got hacked and my social security number was leaked on the dark web with them as well. So the key thing is today, in today's day and age, you ought to have some sort of LifeLock, and there's a number of variations of those out there. If you got hacked with one of those companies as well, and your information got disclosed, most of them are offering some sort of free credit monitoring service. Companies like Discover Credit Card also offer free credit monitoring service, and they will proactively text you or message you if anything shows up on your credit. So there's a lot of ways now to monitor your credit that are not big costs out of your pocket. I highly recommend you do that anyways. So this may not be as big of a deal for you in that instance. The important thing here is that you maybe get to know your buyer that's going to be working on this transaction and they have a reputation that precedes them. Do a credit check on them first as the seller, and now you know who you're dealing with, right? Awesome. So number 2 thing I learned here is that when you sell your house subject to or in a wrap, seller finance, etc., you will have a insurance policy in place. And of course, when that insurance policy changes to the new buyer's name, because I had an existing loan that they took over here, subject to, right? that insurance will actually trigger an alert to them, and they'll say, hey, wait, the insured name does not match the loan policy name. Will you please correct this? So when you do that insurance policy, you'll need to have the seller's name as additionally insured on that policy as well. That way they are covered, because the loan was with the seller. It was never given over to you. You just took over the payments, right, essentially. So have that seller on there as additionally insured. Now, what I also learned in this process is that that insurance policy is what actually alerts the bank of the change in deed. In other words, that alerts the bank that they sold. Otherwise, they would have to go search all the county records for all their properties just to find that you made that sale. So that is something that triggers it. You know, this is something you could play with in terms of ethics here, but you could keep the original insurance policy and have an additional insurance policy, both. But honestly, that's a huge expense. I've never done that. I've always informed the bank by switching it over with the insurance policy and gone that way, right? So that is what gives a trigger there. So there's 3 lessons I learned from doing my first subject to as me as the seller, and how I went through some of the thinking process from the seller's perspective. I know we contact a lot of buyers today looking to buy houses subject to, etc., but that's the seller's perspective from what I learned. Hope that helps. Keep posted. Reach out to us if you have any questions.